morning, Scotland. Good morning, social media land. I hope you're well. It is Monday, the 28th of October, 2024. Consider this. You're living in a country where the media constantly tells you that your government is failing, that your public services are crumbling, and that your leaders are corrupt. Now imagine the narrative being pushed so consistently that it begins to shape how you and others view your own country, making you question its very ability to stand on its own. This is the reality that many Scots face as a persistent Scotland bad narrative dominates the headlines and television screens. But what if this negative portrayal was less than about the truth and more about maintaining the status quo? So today and this week, we're going to be breaking down the Scotland bad narrative and how it's being used as a weapon against the independence movement. Let's start with a clear example. You may remember the image of a blue police tent outside Nicola Sturgeon's home. During an investigation into SNP finances, this image became headline news across Scotland, repeated again and again, as if it was a symbol of corruption at the highest level. Now compare that to the coverage on the COVID cronyism scandals in Westminster. Conservative MPs were found to have benefited from lucrative contracts during the pandemic, but that story didn't dominate the headlines for months in the same way. Why? Because the focus on Scotland is part of a broader narrative designed to make the country look unfit for independence. This isn't just about isolated incidents either. Alex Salmond's court case, where he was accused of misconduct, became another media spectacle. It wasn't just about the trial. Every detail was used to attack the SNP and Scottish leadership as a whole. The case was treated as though the very idea of Scottish self-determination was on trial. Meanwhile, when English MPs face similar allegations, the media response is far more subdued. Chris Pincher, for instance, a Conservative MP, faced serious misconduct accusations, yet the headlines were less frequent and less aggressive. This selective coverage creates a distorted view of reality. The negative stories about Scotland are amplified, while similar issues in England are either downplayed or ignored. But why does this matter? Because the media plays a critical role in shaping how we see the world around us. When people are bombarded with negative stories, they start to believe them, and in this case, that Scotland is uniquely dysfunctional. This is where psychological effects like confirmation bias come into play. When people already have doubts about independence, every negative story that they hear about Scotland reinforces those doubts. And then there's the availability heuristic, a cognitive bias where we judge the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind. If all you see are negative headlines about Scotland, it becomes easy to believe that these problems are more common and severe than they actually are. The constant stream of bad news feeds into a belief that Scotland can't manage itself, that it needs the UK to survive. It's a powerful form of propaganda, one that has been used throughout history to maintain power. During British colonial rule in India, the media portrayed Indians as incapable of self-governance, justifying the empire's control. Similarly, Nazi propaganda demonised Jews, creating a narrative of fear and hatred that justified increasingly radical policies. In both cases, the media was used to manipulate public opinion and maintain existing power structures. And today, in Scotland, the same tactics are being used to subvert the independence movement. The media paints a picture of division and dysfunction within the SNP. Take the committee hearings between Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon as an example. These were billed as a moment of SNP infighting about an old leader and a new leader, all in crisis, when in reality it was a complex legal and procedural issue. But the media's framing made it seem that the independence movement itself was crumbling. The impact was immediate. Polls showed a drop for support and independence during this time, and the narrative of division took hold. This wasn't accidental. It was part of a calculated effort to keep Scotland in the Union by undermining confidence in self-rule. Over time, these narratives can weaken national pride, making people feel dependent on the UK government for stability. But Scotland is not bad. This narrative is designed to make you think that way, but it's not true. Scotland is a leader in renewable energy and cutting-edge developments in wind and hydroelectric power. Scotland has a rich cultural heritage, a strong education system producing thinkers, artists, leaders who make their mark on the world stage. The SNP, despite its challenges, has led Scotland through some of the most difficult years, maintaining a clear vision for independence and self-determination. So how do we fight back against this narrative? First, we need to be more media literate. We need to question the headlines, seek out multiple sources and recognise bias when we see it. Independent media outlets in Scotland are already doing the work to offer alternative perspectives. Platforms like The National are providing a more balanced view of Scotland's strengths alongside its challenges. We also need to amplify Scotland's successes. For every negative headline about political scandal, there are stories of innovation and resilience that deserve our attention. And most importantly, we need to engage critically with our politics, not passively accept the narratives we are fed. The future of Scotland's independence depends on a public that believes in its own potential. So the next time you see a headline telling you that Scotland is in crisis, ask yourself, who benefits from this narrative? Because Scotland is not bad. Scotland is strong, resilient, and more than capable of standing on its own. I think it's about time that we reclaim the narrative. So this week it's all about Scotland bad, the propaganda of the British state, how it's used throughout history, and we're even going to have a wee look at England bad. Yeah, no, that's going to be a bit controversial because, let's face it, the rest of the United Kingdom being England, are certainly not bad. They don't face the same problems as we do. But tomorrow we'll have a look in more depth, a wee bit about the history of propaganda, its methods, and such things like that. And we'll be continuing that theme all week, video each day. So until we see you tomorrow, you have an amazing day.
I can't get no sleep.